The morning light streaming through Nathan's office window felt like an accusation. Emma woke on the leather couch in his chambers, a blanket draped over her that hadn't been there when she'd fallen asleep. Nathan sat at his desk, already dressed in his suit, his tie perfectly knotted, looking every inch the composed judge again. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken words. "Coffee?" He held out a cup without meeting her eyes. Emma sat up, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. "Nathan, we need to talk about what happened." Nothing happened. His voice was cold, professional. "You came here for case documents. You fell asleep reviewing them. That's all anyone needs to know." She stood, anger flaring hot in her chest. "Is that what you're going to tell yourself? That last night meant nothing?" He finally looked at her, and the pain in his gray eyes made her breath catch. "What I tell myself doesn't matter. What matters is Rosa Martinez, your client, my courtroom, the law we both swore to uphold." "The law." Emma laughed bitterly, gathering her things. "Is that what kept you up all night? The law? Or the fact that you finally felt something real for the first time in years?" Nathan's jaw tightened. "You need to leave. Court begins in 2 hours. Answer me, Miss Sterling." He stood, his voice sharp with authority. "Leave now." The formal title hit her like a slap. Emma walked to the door, then turned back. "Your sister Jennifer. Did she know you were capable of this? Of feeling something and then just shutting it off like it never existed?" His face went white. "Don't. Maybe that's why she's dead, Nathan. Maybe she needed someone who actually knew how to fight for what mattered, not someone who hides behind rules when things get difficult." The words left her mouth before she could stop them, cruel and calculated to wound. She regretted them instantly. Nathan's hands gripped the edge of his desk, knuckles white. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Get out of my chambers. Get out before I have you removed." Emma fled. 2 hours later, she stood in the courtroom, her heart pounding as Nathan entered. His face was an impenetrable mask. When his eyes swept across the room, they passed over her as if she were a stranger. "Court is now in session," the bailiff announced, the Honorable Judge Nathan Cross presiding. Nathan sat, arranging papers with mechanical precision. "We will now hear testimony from the prosecution's key witness. Bailiff, please bring in Mr. Howard Chen." Emma's blood ran cold. Howard Chen was Rosa's supervisor, the man whose testimony could destroy her case. But more than that, he was the man Emma had been secretly investigating. The man she suspected was the real embezzler. As Chen walked to the witness stand, he caught Emma's eye and smiled. A cold, knowing smile that made her stomach drop. The prosecutor stood. "Mr. Chen, please tell the court about your relationship with the defendant, Rosa Martinez." Chen settled into his chair, comfortable and confident. "Rosa was my accountant for 3 years. Hardworking mostly, but I started noticing irregularities about 6 months ago, money missing from accounts she managed. When I confronted her, she became defensive." "That's a lie," Rosa whispered desperately beside Emma. Emma placed a hand on her client's arm, her mind racing. She glanced at Nathan, hoping for some sign, some acknowledgement of what they'd discussed last night about Chen's questionable history. Nathan's face remained blank. "Mr. Chen," the prosecutor continued, "do you have evidence of these irregularities?" "I do." Chen pulled out a folder. "Financial records showing systematic withdrawals from corporate accounts. All traced back to Rosa's access codes." Emma shot to her feet. "Objection, Your Honor. The defense has not been provided with these documents." "This is a clear violation of discovery rules." Nathan finally looked at her. His eyes were ice. "Mr. Chen, when did you provide these documents to the prosecution?" "This morning, Your Honor. I only discovered them last night while reviewing old files." "How convenient," Emma said, her voice sharp. "Your Honor, I request an immediate recess to review these documents. This is obviously a manipulation of evidence." "Your Honor," the prosecutor interjected smoothly, "the defense is simply trying to delay the inevitable. These documents are legitimate corporate records." Nathan was silent for a long moment. Emma held her breath, remembering his words from the night before. "If your client is innocent, she deserves the chance to prove it." "Objection overruled," Nathan said flatly. "The documents will be admitted as evidence. Mr. Chen, please continue your testimony. Emma felt the floor drop out from under her. Your Honor, I must protest. This is a violation of my client's right to a fair trial. Noted and overruled, Miss Sterling. Sit down. The coldness in his voice was absolute. Emma sank into her chair, her mind reeling. Rosa grabbed her hand, tears streaming down her face. Chen continued his testimony, each word another nail in Rosa's coffin. He described in detail how he'd discovered the embezzlement, how he'd tried to help Rosa, how she'd threatened him when he said he had to report it. All lies. Emma could see it clearly now. But without time to investigate, without the evidence Nathan had promised to help her obtain, she was helpless. When Chen finished, the prosecutor looked triumphant. Your witness, Miss Sterling. Emma stood on shaking legs. She approached the witness stand, her carefully prepared questions dissolving in the face of Chen's sudden new evidence. Mr. Chen, isn't it true that you had access to the same accounts as Ms. Martinez? Of course, I was her supervisor. And isn't it true that you've been under investigation by the company's internal audit team for the past year? Chen's smile didn't waver. That investigation was closed. No wrongdoing found. Closed by whom? By my superiors. Your Honor, is this relevant? The defense is attempting to smear my character rather than address the evidence against her client. Emma's eyes flew to Nathan. Your Honor, this goes directly to witness credibility. Mr. Chen has motive to frame my client. Unless you have concrete evidence of this alleged framing, Miss Sterling, I suggest you move on. His voice was a stranger's voice. Emma felt something break inside her chest. No further questions. As she returned to her table, Chen leaned forward slightly, his voice too low for anyone else to hear. You should have stayed out of this, Miss Sterling. Some battles can't be won. The recess came like a mercy. Emma rushed to the hallway, her hands shaking as she pulled out her phone. She needed to call her investigator, needed to find something, anything that could counter Chen's testimony. Miss Sterling? She turned. Nathan stood 10 feet away, his face still that awful mask. We need to talk, he said quietly. Now you want to talk? After you just threw my case away in there? He glanced around the empty hallway, then stepped closer. You don't understand what's happening. I understand perfectly. Last night you made promises. This morning you broke them. You're just like every other judge who cares more about appearances than justice. Emma, please, listen to me. Why should I? You made your choice in that courtroom. You chose your reputation over my client, over everything you said you believed in. Nathan's composure cracked. Damn it, Emma, I'm trying to protect you. From what? He looked around again, then lowered his voice. 2 hours ago I received a phone call. From someone very high up in the corporate chain. They know about last night. They know you were in my chambers. They have photos of you entering the courthouse late, leaving early this morning. Emma's blood turned to ice. They said if I didn't bury your case, they'd release the photos. They'd claim we've been having an affair throughout the trial. They'd destroy both our careers and guarantee Rosa's conviction in the process. The trial would be declared a mistrial, but a new trial with a prejudiced jury. Rosa would never stand a chance. So you just gave up? Emma's voice shook. You let Chen walk in there with fabricated evidence? I'm buying us time. If I had rejected the evidence, they would have released everything immediately. This way, we have until the end of the trial to find proof of Chen's guilt. How am I supposed to find proof when you won't even give me access to the evidence I requested? Nathan pulled an envelope from his jacket. The evidence requests I approved yesterday? They're all here. Financial records from the executive suite, security footage from the building, internal audit reports that were supposedly destroyed. He pressed it into her hands. I had them sent to a private investigator I trust. Everything you need to prove Chen is the real embezzler. Emma stared at the envelope, her anger warring with confusion. Why didn't you tell me this in chambers? Because chambers might be bugged. The hallway might be watched. Emma, these people play for keeps. My sister learned that the hard way. His voice broke on the word sister. Emma remembered her cruel words from that morning and felt shame wash over her. Nathan, I'm sorry. What I said about Jennifer, I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. And you were right. He looked away, his throat working. I failed her because I played by the rules. I trusted the system, and she died because of it. I won't make that mistake again. Before Emma could respond, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Nathan stepped back immediately, his face going blank again. The prosecutor appeared, smiling. "Judge Cross, Miss Sterling. Court resumes in 5 minutes. We'll be right there," Nathan said coolly. When the prosecutor disappeared around the corner, Nathan looked at Emma one more time. "Whatever happens in that courtroom, know that I'm on your side. Even when it doesn't look like it. Especially then. How do I know I can trust you?" The pain in his eyes was raw and real. "You don't. But your client deserves better than both of us playing it safe. So take the evidence. Find the truth. And I'll do everything in my power to make sure justice actually happens this time." He walked away, leaving Emma standing in the hallway with the envelope burning in her hands. Inside, she found not just documents, but a handwritten note on Nathan's personal stationery. The executive who closed Chen's investigation? He's Chen's brother-in-law. The audit team that cleared him? All fired 6 months later for refusing to falsify other reports. The money Rosa supposedly stole? It's sitting in an offshore account under a shell corporation Chen created. Everything you need is here. But Emma, please be careful. These people have already killed to keep their secrets. Jennifer wasn't their first victim. Don't let yourself be the next. Emma's hands trembled as she read the words again. Then she noticed something else, something that made her heart stop. At the bottom of the page, in smaller handwriting, "Last night wasn't nothing. It was everything. And that's why I have to do this, because some people are worth breaking every rule for, even if it means I lose everything in the process. Trust me, please." She looked up to find Nathan standing in the courtroom doorway watching her. For just a second, his mask slipped, and she saw the truth written across his face. Love, fear, desperation, determination. Then the mask returned, and he disappeared into the courtroom. Emma clutched the envelope to her chest, her mind racing. She had evidence. She had a chance. But she also had a choice to make. Trust Nathan and risk everything on a judge who had already betrayed her once. Today, or walk away and watch Rosa go to prison for crimes she didn't commit. The bailiff's voice echoed down the hall. "All rise. Court is back in session." Emma took a deep breath and walked toward the courtroom. She didn't know if she was walking toward justice or destruction, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. After today, nothing would ever be the same. The afternoon light slanted through the courtroom windows, casting long shadows across the faces of the jury. Emma could feel their judgment already shifting. Chen's testimony poisoning the well of reasonable doubt she'd worked so hard to create. Rosa sat beside her, shoulders hunched, crying softly. "I'm going to prison, aren't I?" "No." Emma squeezed her hand, the envelope from Nathan hidden in her briefcase like a live grenade. "Not if I can help it." The prosecution rested their case with smug confidence. The judge's gavel fell, and Nathan's voice cut through the murmuring courtroom. "Miss Sterling, is the defense prepared to present its case?" Emma stood, her heart pounding. "Your Honor, the defense requests a continuance until tomorrow morning. New evidence has come to light that requires additional preparation." The prosecutor shot to his feet. "Objection. The defense is stalling." Nathan's eyes met hers for a fraction of a second. "How much time do you need, Miss Sterling?" 18 hours, Your Honor." Objection sustained. "You have 12 hours, Miss Sterling. Court will reconvene at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Use your time wisely." As the courtroom cleared, Emma felt a hand on her arm. She turned to find an older woman with sharp eyes and expensive jewelry. "Miss Sterling, I'm Margaret Chen, Howard's mother." The woman's smile was cold. "I wanted to tell you personally how much I admire your dedication to lost causes. It takes a special kind of lawyer to stand by their clients even when they're clearly guilty." "Mrs. Chen, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." "Of course. Of course." The woman's grip tightened. "But a word of advice, dear. Sometimes the best thing a lawyer can do for their client is advise them to take a plea deal. Trials can be so unpredictable, dangerous even. People get hurt when they push too hard." Emma pulled her arm free. "Is that a threat?" "A threat? Goodness, no. Just the concern of one woman for another." Margaret Chen's eyes glittered. "After all, you're so young. So much life ahead of you. It would be tragic if something happened because you couldn't recognize when you're outmatched." Emma watched the woman glide away, every instinct screaming danger. She drove straight to the address Nathan had written on a separate card. A small office above a Chinese restaurant in a part of town where lawyers like her didn't usually venture. The sign on the door read, Marcus Webb, Private Investigator. The man who opened the door was younger than she expected, maybe 40, with the watchful eyes of someone who'd seen too much. Emma Sterling. Nathan said you'd be coming. Marcus stepped aside. Come in, quickly. The office was cramped, walls covered with corkboards full of photos and documents connected by red string. It looked like something from a conspiracy movie, except Emma was starting to believe the conspiracy was real. Nathan got you everything? She asked. More than everything. Marcus pulled out a laptop. Your boy, Howard Chen, he's been busy. Real busy. Want to see something that'll make your blood boil? He turned the screen toward her. Bank statements, offshore accounts, wire transfers, all leading back to Chen. $3 million over 2 years, Marcus said. Systematically stolen from corporate accounts. But here's where it gets interesting. He clicked to another file. The money didn't stop with Chen. Look at the receiving accounts. Emma leaned closer. Her breath caught. Judge Lawrence Morrison, City Councilwoman Rebecca Tang, Police Commissioner Frank Delgado. She looked up at Marcus. This isn't just embezzlement. It's a corruption network. Chen was the money man, funneling corporate funds to officials who'd look the other way on permits, investigations, zoning laws. Rosa Martinez wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time. She saw something. That's why they're burying her. What did she see? According to the security footage Nathan got me, she walked into Chen's office one night, 6 months ago, saw him with someone she shouldn't have, had a conversation that got heated. Marcus clicked another file. Grainy security footage appeared. Rosa, younger and less worn down, standing in an office doorway. Chen at his desk, and across from him, another figure. Emma's stomach dropped. The man in the footage was unmistakable, even from behind. Nathan Cross. No. The word came out as a whisper. No, that's not possible. I'm sorry, Emma, but Nathan's been lying to you. He's not trying to help Rosa. He's trying to bury her because she's the only witness who can prove he was part of Chen's operation. The room spun. Emma gripped the desk, her mind refusing to accept what her eyes were seeing. The case with his sister, Marcus continued quietly. I looked into it. There was no sister named Jennifer Cross. That whole story? It was a lie. He manipulated you. Why are you telling me this? Emma's voice shook. If Nathan sent you, if you're working for him, why would you expose him? Marcus's expression hardened. Because I'm not working for Nathan. I'm working for someone who wants to see this corruption network burned to the ground, no matter who gets caught in the fire, including a judge who thinks he's untouchable. Who hired you? Someone who used to trust Judge Nathan Cross, someone he betrayed. Marcus pulled out another envelope. Everything you need is here. Evidence of Nathan's involvement, his financial connections to Chen, his role in covering up previous investigations. The photos they're using to blackmail him, he took those himself. Insurance policy in case anyone got too close. Emma's hands trembled as she took the envelope. I don't understand. If he's part of this, why would he give me evidence against Chen? Because Chen's become a liability. The network wants him gone, and they're using you to do it. Nathan's job is to make sure the trial ends with Chen arrested, the network's tracks covered, and Rosa taking the fall as Chen's accomplice instead of his victim. 2 birds, 1 stone. That's insane, is it? Marcus leaned back. Think about it. Nathan gives you just enough evidence to destroy Chen. Chen goes to prison. The investigation stops there. No one looks deeper. The network survives. Rosa gets convicted as a co-conspirator. And you? You think you've won? That justice was served. Nathan gets to play the noble judge who helped the plucky attorney take down the bad guy. Everyone wins except the people who actually deserve justice. Emma's mind raced back through every interaction with Nathan. The intensity in his eyes. The story about his sister. The way he'd held her. Had it all been manipulation? I need to think, she said, standing on shaking legs. You have 12 hours, Marcus reminded her. Whatever you decide, make it count. These people don't give second chances. Emma drove through the city in a daze, the 2 envelopes sitting on her passenger seat like competing versions of reality. One promised justice. The other promised truth. She wasn't sure anymore if they were the same thing. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Emma. Nathan's voice rough with emotion. Where are you? We need to talk. I don't think we have anything to talk about. You went to Marcus. He told you things. Emma, please. Let me explain. Explain what? That you've been using me? That your sister never existed? That you're part of the same corrupt network you pretended to fight against? Silence. Then quietly, it's more complicated than that. It always is. Emma's laugh was bitter. God, I'm such an idiot. I actually believed you. I thought what we had was real. It is real. Emma, everything I feel for you is real. But the rest, yes, I lied. I had to. You had to. 10 years ago, I did have a case. Not my sister. My fiancée, Amanda. She was exactly like Rosa, caught in something bigger than herself. I tried to save her the right way. By the book, by the law. And they killed her for it. Made it look like suicide. His voice broke. And despite everything, Emma felt her heart twist. After that, I made a choice. If I couldn't beat them, I'd join them. I became a judge. I became part of their network. And I waited. For 10 years, I played their game, won their trust, gathered evidence, waiting for the right moment to burn it all down. And Rosa? She's just collateral damage in your crusade for revenge? No, Rosa is the key. She's the only witness who can testify to what she saw that night. Not me meeting with Chen. Me giving Chen documents. Evidence of every illegal deal the network has made for the past decade. I've been the inside man, collecting everything they thought was safe. Rosa walked in when I was passing that evidence to Chen, trying to turn him into an informant. That's why they want her gone. Not because she's guilty, but because she's proof I'm the one who's been betraying them. Emma's head spun. If that's true, why didn't you just tell me? Because they're watching me. Every move, every word. If they knew I'd told you the truth, they'd kill Rosa before she could testify. They'd kill you. They'd burn every piece of evidence and disappear. I needed you to find the truth on your own, through Marcus, through channels they wouldn't suspect. Marcus said you're trying to frame Rosa as Chen's accomplice. Marcus is wrong, or he's testing you. Emma, I don't know who hired him or what his real agenda is, but I know this. Tomorrow morning, if you present the evidence against Chen, if you call me as a witness and ask the right questions, I will tell the truth. All of it. I will expose the entire network, even if it means admitting my own crimes, even if it means I go to prison. Why would you do that? His voice dropped to barely a whisper. Because Amanda deserved better. Because Rosa deserves better. And because you made me remember what it feels like to care about something more than revenge. You made me want to be the person I pretended to be. Emma closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. How do I know you're telling the truth now? You don't. You can't. All I can tell you is that tomorrow, in that courtroom, I'm going to destroy myself to save your client. The only question is whether you'll trust me enough to let me do it. The line went dead. Emma sat in her car, both envelopes in her lap, and realized she had to make an impossible choice. Trust Nathan, and risk everything on a man who'd already admitted to lying. Or trust Marcus and present evidence that might convict both Chen and Nathan, but could also get Rosa killed. Or walk away from both of them and try to save Rosa with what she'd built on her own. 3 paths. All of them dangerous, all of them potentially fatal. She looked at her watch. 11 hours until court. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You're being watched. Don't go home. Don't go to your office. They know you have the evidence. Meet me at the harbor bridge in 1 hour. Come alone. Trust no one. Not even him. Especially not him. This is your last chance to save everyone, including yourself. Emma stared at the message, her heart pounding. She started the car and drove toward the bridge, knowing she was driving toward something she couldn't come back from. Behind her, in the shadows of the parking garage, a figure watched her leave and smiled. The harbor bridge stretched across black water like a spine of steel and lights. Emma parked at the south end, fog rolling in from the bay, muffling the sound of distant traffic. Her phone read 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until the meeting. She checked the rearview mirror for the 100th time. No one had followed her. At least no one she could see. The envelope sat on the passenger seat. Evidence against Chen. Evidence against Nathan. Two versions of truth that couldn't both be real, unless they both were. At 11:58, a figure emerged from the fog at the center of the bridge. Emma grabbed her phone, ready to call 911, and stepped out of the car. The figure resolved into a woman, tall, professional, with auburn hair pulled back severely. She wore a long coat against the cold, hands in her pockets. "Miss Sterling, thank you for coming. Who are you?" "My name is Amanda Price, though I used to go by Amanda Cross." Emma's breath stopped. "That's impossible. Nathan said you were dead." Amanda smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Nathan says a lot of things. I'm very much alive, as you can see, though he certainly tried his best to change that 10 years ago. I don't understand." "Walk with me." Amanda started across the bridge. After a moment's hesitation, Emma followed. 10 years ago, I was a legal aid attorney, naive, idealistic. I fell in love with a prosecutor named Nathan Cross. Brilliant, passionate, everything I thought I wanted. The fog thickened around them, turning the world into shades of gray. I took on a case, a woman accused of embezzlement. Corporate giant, powerful connections, the whole thing. Sound familiar? Just like Rose's case, Emma whispered. Exactly like Rose's case. Because it's the same network, the same playbook. They find vulnerable employees, frame them, use them as scapegoats while they steal millions. I fought hard, got close to exposing everything, and then Nathan came to me with a deal. Amanda stopped, turning to face Emma. In the bridge lights, her face looked carved from ice. He said he'd found evidence, proof of the real criminals. All I had to do was trust him, let him handle it quietly, behind the scenes. Keep my client from testifying in open court where things could get messy. I believed him. God help me, I loved him, so I believed him. What happened? He betrayed me, took my evidence, gave it to the very people I was investigating. My client went to prison. I lost my license for misconduct. My reputation was destroyed. And Nathan? He was rewarded with a judgeship. Payment for services rendered. Emma's stomach churned. But he told me you died. That the system failed you. I did die in a way. Amanda Cross died the day I realized the man I loved had sold me out for power. Amanda Price was born in the ashes. And I've spent 10 years building a case against Nathan Cross and everyone he works for. You hired Marcus. Marcus works for me. He gave you part of the truth. Now I'm giving you the rest. Amanda pulled out a tablet, tapping it to life. This is Nathan, 2 weeks ago, meeting with City Councilwoman Rebecca Tang. Know what they're discussing? She turned the screen. Audio played, Nathan's voice clear. The Sterling woman is perfect. Young, idealistic, easy to manipulate. I'll feed her just enough evidence to take down Chen. She'll think she's won. The network stays hidden. We all walk away clean. Tang's laugh was audible. And if she digs deeper, she won't. I'll make sure she's too distracted to look past the obvious. A little romance, a tragic backstory, she'll eat it up. They always do. Emma felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. No, that's not real. You edited it. It's real. Recorded by Tang herself. Insurance policy in case Nathan gets ideas about turning on them. Amanda's eyes were hard. He played you, Emma. Every word. Every look. Every touch. It was all a manipulation to use you as a weapon against Chen while protecting the real power structure. Why are you telling me this? Emma's voice shook. Why not just expose him yourself? Because I need you to do it. In court, tomorrow. You have evidence against Chen. Present it. But don't stop there. Call Nathan as a witness. Ask him about his relationship with the network. Ask him about me. Force him to admit everything under oath where it's public record. Where they can't bury it. He'll claim the fifth. He can't. As the presiding judge, if you call him as a witness to possible judicial misconduct, he has to answer or recuse himself. Either way, the trial stops. The media descends. The whole corrupt system gets exposed. Emma's mind raced. And Rosa? Rosa goes free. Real evidence of her innocence will come out. She gets her life back. Justice actually happens. Amanda stepped closer. All you have to do is trust me instead of him. Choose the truth over the lie. How do I know you're telling the truth? Because unlike Nathan, I'm not asking you to believe me on faith. I'm giving you proof. Evidence you can verify. Recordings you can authenticate. Tomorrow morning before court, my full file will be delivered to 3 major news outlets. Whether you use it in court or not, the truth comes out. I'm giving you the chance to be part of it. To save your client yourself instead of watching from the sidelines. Emma looked out at the black water, her reflection fractured on its surface. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong, but she couldn't see the trap. What do you get out of this? Revenge. Amanda's smile was sharp as a knife. I want Nathan to lose everything, the way I did. I want him to stand in a courtroom and watch his whole world burn. And I want him to know it was because he underestimated the woman he destroyed. That's it? Just revenge? Just? Amanda laughed. Revenge is everything when it's all you have left. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. Emma, please. Where are you? We need to talk before tomorrow. Don't trust Amanda. She's not who she says she is. She showed the phone to Amanda, who shrugged. Of course he'd say that. He's desperate. He knows his time is running out. Another text. Amanda Price isn't my ex-fiancée. She's the daughter of Police Commissioner Frank Delgado. She's using you to destroy the one person who can expose her father's role in the network. I have proof. Meet me at Chambers, please. Emma looked between the phone and Amanda. Is that true? Is your father Frank Delgado? Something flickered in Amanda's eyes. So what if he is? That doesn't change what Nathan did. But it changes why you're doing this. You're not after justice. You're protecting your father. My father is a good man caught in a bad system. Nathan is the real criminal. He's the one who built this network. That's not what Nathan says. And you believe him? Amanda's voice rose. After everything I've shown you? Emma, he's a liar. A manipulator. He used you. Maybe. Emma backed toward the railing. Or maybe you both did. Maybe this whole thing is just two corrupt people fighting over power, and Rosa and I are pawns in your game. That's not true. Prove it. If you're so innocent, why are you meeting me in secret? Why not go to the police? The FBI? Real authorities? Because they're all bought and paid for. Emma, please. You have to trust someone. Choose me. Choose the truth. The truth? Emma pulled out both envelopes. I have two versions of truth here. One says Nathan is a hero playing a long game against corruption. One says he's the villain. And now you're giving me a third version, where you're the hero, and he's the villain who destroyed you. But all three of you are asking me to trust you blindly while condemning the others. So what are you going to do? Emma looked at the envelopes, then at Amanda, then at her phone where Nathan's messages kept coming, each one more desperate than the last. I'm going to do what I should have done from the beginning. Trust myself. Trust the evidence I can verify, and let the chips fall where they may. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it'll be my mistake. Emma started walking back toward her car. Tell your father that if he wants to stay out of prison, he should start cooperating with real investigators. Tell Nathan the same thing. And tell Marcus that playing both sides only works until someone calls your bluff. Emma, wait. She turned. Amanda stood in the fog, looking suddenly vulnerable. I was telling the truth. About Nathan betraying me. About losing everything. That part was real. I believe you. But that doesn't make you the hero of this story. Just another victim who became a villain in their quest for revenge. I'm done being a weapon for other people's wars. Emma got in her car and drove away, watching Amanda's figure disappear in the rearview mirror. Her phone rang. Nathan, she answered. I'm done being manipulated. Emma, thank God. Listen to me. Amanda is dangerous. She's been orchestrating this whole thing. The evidence against Chen? Some of it's real, but some is forged. She's trying to create a scandal big enough that the real investigation gets buried in the noise. And I'm supposed to believe you because I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm telling you to save yourself. Don't go to court tomorrow. Get Rosa and run. I'll handle the fallout. But Emma, if you walk into that courtroom with Amanda's evidence, you're signing your own death warrant. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Not from me, from them, the network. They've decided you know too much. One way or another, tomorrow ends with you silenced. Then I guess I better make my testimony count. She hung up. At midnight, Emma sat in an all-night diner, both envelopes spread in front of her, going through every piece of evidence with fresh eyes, not looking for what Nathan or Amanda or Marcus wanted her to see, looking for what was actually there. It took until 4 a.m., but she finally saw it. The pattern, the trap, the truth. And it was worse than anything she'd imagined. She grabbed her phone, calling the one person she thought she could maybe still trust. Rosa. I need you to listen very carefully. Don't go home tonight. Don't go anywhere alone. Get to a public place and stay there until I call you. Emma, what's happening? You're scaring me. I know who set you up. I know why, and I know how to stop them. But Rosa, I need you to promise me something. No matter what happens in court tomorrow, no matter what you hear about me, know that I believe in your innocence. And I'm going to prove it even if it kills me. Emma, please. What's going on? Justice, finally. I'll see you in court at 9 a.m. Be ready for anything. She hung up and pulled out a third envelope. One she'd been carrying since the beginning, but hadn't looked at until now. Evidence her own investigator had found before Nathan and Amanda and Marcus had entered the picture. Simple. Overlooked. Obvious. The truth had been there all along. She'd just been too busy listening to everyone else to see it. Emma wrote out her questions for tomorrow. Her witness list. Her strategy. When the sun rose, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold, she was ready. For justice. For truth. For the end of whatever this was. She just hoped she'd live long enough to see it through. At 8:30 a.m., Emma walked into the courthouse. At 8:45 a.m., she walked into Nathan's chambers without knocking. He stood by the window, looking like he hadn't slept. When he turned and saw her face, something like fear crossed his features. Emma, I know what you did, she said quietly. I know what Amanda did. I know what Chen did. And I know what I'm going to do. What's that? She set the 3 envelopes on his desk. I'm going to burn it all down. Every lie, every manipulation, every person who thought they could use Rosa Martinez as a pawn, including you. Nathan's face went white. Emma, please. Let me explain. No more explanations. No more stories. No more last-minute revelations. In 15 minutes, I'm going to stand in your courtroom and expose everyone. If you're the hero you claim to be, you'll let me. If you're the villain, you'll try to stop me. Either way, the truth comes out. You'll be killed. Maybe. But at least I'll die knowing I fought for the right thing. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I hope Amanda was lying. I hope you really were trying to do the right thing. But Nathan, I'm done hoping. I'm done believing. I'm done trusting anyone but myself. She walked out, leaving him standing by the window. A man who'd been judge, jury, and executioner of his own soul. The courtroom was packed, media in the back rows, having somehow gotten word that something big was coming. Amanda sat in the gallery, her face unreadable. Marcus stood near the exit, watching everything. Rosa sat at the defense table, terrified and confused. Emma, what's happening? Justice, I hope, the bailiff's voice rang out. All rise. The Honorable Judge Nathan Cross presiding, Nathan entered. Their eyes met. In that moment, Emma saw the truth written across his face. He was afraid. Truly, deeply afraid, but not of her. Not of exposure, of something else. Something bigger. The bailiff finished the formalities. Nathan sat. The courtroom settled into expectant silence. Emma stood. Your Honor, the defense calls its first witness. Proceed. She took a breath. This was it. The moment everything changed. The defense calls Judge Nathan Cross to the stand. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The prosecutor shot to his feet. Objection. This is highly irregular. Emma kept her eyes on Nathan. Your Honor, I have evidence of judicial misconduct and corruption directly relevant to this case. You have the right to recuse yourself or testify, but you cannot do neither. Nathan's hands gripped the bench. Miss Sterling, you're playing a dangerous game. No, Your Honor. I'm finally playing an honest one. The silence stretched. Emma could hear her heart beat. The clock on the wall, Rosa's quiet breathing beside her. Then Nathan stood. The court will take a 30-minute recess. Miss Sterling, the prosecution and all counsel will meet me in chambers immediately. As the gavel fell, Emma saw Amanda smile and realized, too late, what she'd missed. The one thing none of them had told her. The one truth that explained everything. But by then, she was already walking toward chambers, toward whatever waited on the other side of that door, toward the real betrayal. Nathan's chambers felt like a tomb. Emma entered to find not just Nathan and the prosecutor, but 3 others. Amanda stood by the bookshelf, Marcus near the window, and in Nathan's chair, a man Emma had never seen before. Silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of face that appeared on corporate boardrooms and political donor lists. Miss Sterling. Please sit. The man's voice was smooth as oil. We have much to discuss and very little time. Who are you? My name is Richard Delgado, Frank's older brother, the one who actually runs things while Frank plays police commissioner. He smiled. You've been very busy, Miss Sterling. Collecting evidence, following leads, trusting the wrong people. It's quite impressive, really. Emma's blood ran cold. She looked at Nathan, who stood against the wall, his face carved from stone. What is this? This, Richard said, is an intervention. You see, everyone in this room has been lying to you, some more than others, but all with the same goal, to see how much you'd figured out before we had to act. Nathan? Emma's voice broke. He didn't meet her eyes. Amanda stepped forward. Emma, I'm sorry. I truly am. But you need to understand, this is bigger than you, bigger than Rosa, bigger than any single case. The network, Emma whispered. There is no network, Richard said. Not in the way you think. No vast conspiracy. Just business, just people making practical choices about how power flows in this city. Nathan understands that. He's been part of it for years, despite his occasional fits of conscience. Emma looked at Marcus. And you? Doing my job, which was to feed you information and see what you'd do with it. Every meeting, every envelope, all of it was theater to gauge how dangerous you actually are. The evidence against Chen? Real, Richard confirmed. Chen got greedy, sloppy. He's a liability we're happy to see removed. But the evidence against Nathan? The recordings of me? The financial trails? All carefully curated to see if you'd weaponize them or if you'd recognize the trap. Emma's mind raced. This was all a test. A very important test. You see, Miss Sterling, you're good. Very good. Too good to simply eliminate. We wanted to know if you could be reasoned with, if you understood how the world actually works. By threatening my client? By destroying innocent people's lives? Rosa Martinez is hardly innocent, Amanda said. She did see something that night. Nathan passing documents to Chen. But she also took money. Not much, but enough. We have proof. Real proof. She was planning to run with it. Chen caught her. This trial was her chance to flip the narrative, play victim, and walk away clean. That's a lie. But Emma's voice lacked conviction. She thought of Rosa's expensive purse, the designer shoes that seemed out of place, the way she'd hesitated when Emma had asked about her finances. Nathan finally spoke, his voice dead. It's not a lie, Emma. I investigated. Rosa is guilty of theft. Not the amount they're charging her with, but enough to prosecute. Everything that happened after that, the frame-up, the larger charges, that was Chen and the others trying to bury their own crimes under hers. So you all just decided to manipulate me into being your cleanup crew? We decided to give you a choice, Richard said. A real choice, not the illusion of one. Here are your options, Miss Sterling. Listen carefully. He stood, moving to the window where the courthouse square spread below. Morning sun caught the protesters gathering outside, people demanding justice for Rosa Martinez, inspired by Emma's passionate defense. Option 1. You continue your crusade. You present your evidence against Chen. You try to expose Nathan. You fight for Rosa's complete innocence. And here's what happens. Chen goes to prison, but so does Rosa, convicted as his accomplice with the evidence we've kept in reserve. Nathan recuses himself, faces an ethics investigation that goes nowhere because we control the board. The media circus distracts from real issues for 6 months. You lose your license for witness tampering based on testimony we'll manufacture. Everyone loses, especially the innocent people in this city who need good lawyers like you fighting for them in the future. Emma's hands clenched. Option 2? You take the win we're offering. Chen gets convicted on the evidence you have. Rosa takes a plea deal. Time served, probation, no felony on her record. She gets to go home to her children tonight. You get your victory. Your reputation grows. And we leave you alone to do the good work you do, defending people who actually deserve it. While you all continue business as usual. While the city continues to function, Richard corrected. Power flows, money moves, life goes on. Just like it always has. Just like it always will. Emma looked around the room. At Amanda, who'd played the victim so convincingly. At Marcus, who'd been a corporate plant all along. At Nathan, who still wouldn't meet her eyes. And if I choose option 1, if I fight, Then we activate option 3, Richard said quietly. The evidence we have on you: meetings with judges in private, unauthorized investigation of public officials, communications with your client that could be interpreted as witness coaching. We bury you so deep you never practice law again, and Rosa goes to prison for 10 years instead of going home tonight. You're blackmailing me. We're offering you reality. The law isn't about truth, Miss Sterling. It's about power, about who has it and who doesn't. You're smart enough to know that. The question is, are you smart enough to accept it? Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes. She'd fought so hard, come so close, and it was all just another manipulation, another game she couldn't win. Emma. Nathan's voice soft and broken. Take the deal, please. Save Rosa, save yourself. This isn't a war you can win. She finally looked at him, really looked, and saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Shame, resignation, and underneath it all, a desperate plea. Your sister, Emma said. Jennifer, Amanda, all those stories. Which parts were true? All of them. None of them. Does it matter anymore? It matters to me. Nathan closed his eyes. There was a woman I loved. She died because I tried to fight this system. The details, the name, those changed depending on what I thought would make you listen. But the pain was real. The guilt was real. And my fear of watching it happen again, watching you get destroyed the way she was, that's real too. So you became one of them. I became a survivor, and I'm trying to help you survive too. Richard checked his watch. 5 minutes, Miss Sterling. The courtroom is waiting. Choose. Emma stood, moving to the window. Below, she could see Rosa being escorted back into the courthouse. Small, scared, looking up at the building like it was a guillotine. A mother who wanted to go home to her children. A woman who'd made a mistake, but didn't deserve to have her life destroyed for it. A person who deserved a lawyer willing to fight for her, even if that fight was already lost. If I take the deal, Emma said slowly, Rosa goes free today? Immediately. All charges except a misdemeanor theft, which she'll plead guilty to for time served. She walks out of this courthouse with her children by tonight. And you leave her alone? Forever? She becomes irrelevant to us. Yes, Emma nodded. I need something else. You're not in a position to negotiate. I need Nathan to resign from the bench. Effective immediately. No ethics investigation, no scandal. Just a quiet resignation citing personal reasons. Nathan's head snapped up. Richard frowned. Why? Because someone in this room needs to face actual consequences. Someone needs to lose something real. If it's not going to be you or Amanda or Marcus or any of the people actually running this corruption, then it has to be him. He gets to keep his freedom, his money, his life. But he loses the power to keep hurting people from behind that bench. Emma, no. Nathan moved toward her. Don't do this. Why not? You said you wanted to protect me, wanted me to survive. This is how I survive, by knowing that at least one person in this room paid something for what they did. Richard looked amused. That's your price? His career? That's my price. Nathan, are you hearing this? Your little dove has teeth after all. Nathan stared at Emma. She stared back, refusing to look away, refusing to let him see how much this was breaking her. Finally, he nodded. Done. I'll submit my resignation today. Good. Emma turned back to Richard. Then I'll take your deal. Rosa pleads to time served. She goes home. I walk away, and we all pretend justice was served. Excellent choice, Miss Sterling. You're smarter than I gave you credit for. No, Emma said quietly. I'm just tired of watching innocent people pay for powerful people's crimes, even if the innocent person in question isn't as innocent as I thought. 20 minutes later, Emma stood in the courtroom explaining the plea deal to Rosa. The relief and confusion in her client's face nearly broke her. I get to go home? Today? Today. Right after you sign the agreement and the judge accepts your plea. But Emma, you said we were going to fight. You said we were going to win. I was wrong. This is the best outcome we can get. Trust me, Rosa grabbed her hand. Thank you. Thank you so much. My babies. I get to see my babies. The joy in her voice felt like acid on Emma's skin. Nathan presided over the hearing with mechanical efficiency. When Rosa pled guilty to misdemeanor theft, When the judge accepted the plea and released her on probation, Emma heard the spectators whisper about the strange end to such a dramatic case. Chen was arrested in the courtroom based on Emma's evidence. As they led him out in handcuffs, he caught her eye and nodded slightly. He'd known how this would end all along. After it was over, after Rosa had hugged her one more time and left with her children, Emma gathered her things slowly. The courtroom emptied around her until only Nathan remained. He approached slowly, like he was afraid she'd bolt. "Emma, don't. I just want you to know that I really did care about you. That wasn't part of the manipulation." She finally looked at him. "Does it matter? Caring doesn't mean anything if you're not willing to fight for it. If you're not willing to sacrifice for it, I am sacrificing. I'm giving up everything I worked for." "No, you're giving up a job. There's a difference." She picked up her briefcase. "Your sister, your fiancée, Amanda, whatever she was. You want to know what I think killed her? It wasn't the system. It was you, your cowardice, your willingness to play along. People like you, Nathan. You're worse than people like Richard, because you know better. You feel the guilt, and you do it anyway." His face crumpled. "Emma, please. I need you to understand something. Every time you sit on a bench, every time you put on that robe, you make a choice. You chose wrong, over and over. And now, someone finally made you face a consequence." She walked past him, then paused at the door. "I loved you. For about 12 hours, I loved you completely. And that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Not because you betrayed me, but because I betrayed myself by believing in you. If I could go back, but you can't. None of us can. We just have to live with the choices we made." Emma walked out of the courtroom, out of the courthouse, into air that felt thick and toxic with compromise. Her phone buzzed. An email from an anonymous account. "You made the right choice. Rosa is safe. You're safe. But Miss Sterling, understand this. You're on our radar now. Keep your head down. Keep defending the innocent. And remember that every victory you win, every client you save, it's because we allow it. Welcome to the real world, where justice is a commodity, not a right." Emma deleted the email. Then she deleted Nathan's number. Then she went to her office, locked the door, and cried for 3 hours straight. When she finally stopped, her eyes were dry and her heart was stone. She'd saved Rosa. She'd won the case. She'd gotten justice, or something close enough to it that most people wouldn't know the difference, and it felt like the worst loss of her life. Her phone rang. "Rosa. Emma, I can't thank you enough. You saved me. You saved my family. You're a hero." Emma closed her eyes. "I'm glad you're home, Rosa. Take care of yourself." "I will. And Emma, whatever you did, whatever deal you made, I know it cost you. I see it in your eyes. Thank you for paying that price for me." After Rosa hung up, Emma sat in the darkness of her office, wondering if Rosa knew just how much that price had been. Her ideals, her faith in the system, her heart, and somewhere across the city, Nathan Cross was typing his resignation letter, paying his own price, but Emma couldn't bring herself to feel sorry for him. She just felt tired, so tired of a world where doing the right thing meant compromising everything you believed in. Where justice was just another word for surrender, where the only way to save someone was to sacrifice yourself. She opened her laptop and started working on her next case. Another impossible defendant, another fight she probably couldn't win, but she'd fight anyway, because that's what she did. Even knowing the game was rigged, even knowing she'd already lost, she'd fight until there was nothing left of her but the fight itself. It was all she had left. 3 months later, Emma stood in a different courtroom in a different city. Chicago, far from the poisonous air of home. The case was simple. A teenager accused of shoplifting. Open and shut, the kind of case she used to handle in her sleep. But nothing was simple anymore. The prosecutor was midway through his opening statement when Emma's phone vibrated in her pocket. She ignored it. The phone buzzed again, and again. During the recess, she finally checked. 17 missed calls, all from the same unknown number. A voicemail waited. She pressed play, Marcus's voice. "Emma, pick up. It's about Nathan, please." Her finger hovered over delete. She should delete it, move on. Forget that part of her life ever happened, she called back. Jesus, finally. Emma, listen to me very carefully. Nathan's been arrested. Her world tilted. What? He didn't just resign. He went rogue. Took all the evidence he'd been collecting for years and gave it to the FBI. Real evidence, verified, actionable. Richard Delgado, his brother Frank, Amanda, me, the entire network. We're all going down. Emma sat down heavily on a courthouse bench. I don't understand. He took the deal. He walked away. He lied. The resignation was real, but it wasn't surrender. It was the final move. He couldn't expose everyone while wearing the robe, because judicial immunity protected him from certain consequences, but also limited what he could do. Once he resigned, he became a private citizen. A witness, a cooperating informant. Emma, he's testifying against everyone, including himself. He's going to prison. Why are you telling me this? Because he won't tell them about you. He's keeping your name out of it completely. As far as the FBI knows, you were an unwitting pawn. But Emma, Richard's lawyers are good. They're going to dig. They're going to find out about that meeting in Chambers, about the deal you took. And they're going to try to discredit Nathan by discrediting everyone around him, including you. Emma's hands went numb. What do I do? You run, or you come back and testify. Tell the truth about what happened. Nathan's lawyer thinks your testimony could be what seals the case. But Emma, if you testify, your career is over. The Bar Association, the media, everything we threatened you with, it all comes true. You lose everything, and if I don't, Nathan still goes to prison. But the others might walk. Reasonable doubt. Prosecutorial overreach. Their lawyers are already setting it up. One man's word against an entire system, without corroboration, without someone else validating his story, the jury might not believe him. Emma closed her eyes. Why did he do it? He had a way out. He was free. You'll have to ask him yourself. He's being held at Cook County Detention. He put you on his visitor list. Only person he put on it. The call ended. Emma sat on that bench for an hour. Her teenage client and his worried mother waiting in the courtroom. The judge probably wondering where she'd gone. Finally, she stood, walked back into court, asked for a continuance due to a family emergency. The judge, seeing something in her face, agreed without argument. Emma booked a flight home that night. Cook County Detention was exactly as grim as she'd imagined. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of industrial cleaner failing to mask darker scents. Nathan was brought to the visitor room in an orange jumpsuit. He'd lost weight. His hair was longer, but his eyes, when they met hers through the glass partition, were clearer than she'd ever seen them. He picked up the phone. She did the same. You came, he said. I'm an idiot. You're here. That's all that matters. They sat in silence for a moment. 1,000 questions hung between them, but Emma found herself asking the only one that mattered. Why? Nathan leaned back, a small smile touching his lips. You remember what you said to me that last day? That caring doesn't mean anything without fighting, without sacrifice? I remember. You were right. I'd spent 10 years telling myself I was playing the long game, building a case, waiting for the right moment. But the truth is, I was just scared. Scared of ending up like Amanda, like Jennifer, like whoever she really was. Scared of losing what little power I had. Scared of mattering and failing. He leaned forward again, his eyes intense. And then you walked into my courtroom. And you reminded me what it looks like when someone actually fights. When someone puts everything on the line for what's right. Even knowing they'll probably lose. You made me ashamed of who I'd become. So you decided to throw away your freedom out of shame. I decided to throw it away for the first pure thing I'd felt in a decade. His voice dropped. I loved you, Emma, really loved you. Not the manipulation, not the game. You. And I realized that if I didn't fight, didn't sacrifice, I'd spend the rest of my life knowing I'd destroyed the one thing that made me feel human again. Tears burned Emma's eyes. Nathan, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know this wasn't about redemption. It wasn't about justice. It was about proving to myself that I was still capable of doing one thing that wasn't calculated. One thing that was just right, even if it destroyed me. They need me to testify. To corroborate your story. He shook his head immediately. No, absolutely not. That's why I kept your name out of it. You get to walk away clean. You get to keep fighting for people who need you. And if that means you go to prison while the others go free, then I go to prison. Emma, you've already sacrificed enough. You gave up your ideals to save Rosa. Don't give up your future to save me. I'm not worth it. That's not your choice to make. It's the only choice I have left. His hand pressed against the glass. Please, just let me do this one thing right. Let me protect you the way I should have from the beginning. Emma looked at him. At the man who'd betrayed her, who'd manipulated her, who'd broken her heart and her faith in the system, and who was now offering her an escape at the cost of his own freedom. If I testify, she said slowly, I lose my license. My career, everything I've worked for. Yes. But they go to prison. All of them. Richard, Frank, Amanda, the whole network burns. Probably. But Emma, they're not your responsibility. You didn't create this corruption. You shouldn't have to pay to end it. And Rosa? What about all the future Rosas? All the people who need lawyers willing to fight a rigged system. If I lose my license, who fights for them? Nathan's face crumpled. I don't know. But I can't ask you to sacrifice everything for my mistakes. Emma stood. Then it's good you're not asking. I'm deciding. For myself, not for you. Not for redemption, but because I need to be able to look at myself in the mirror and know that when it mattered most, I chose truth over comfort. Emma, please, think about this. I have. For 3 months, I've thought about nothing else. About Rosa going home to her children because I compromised. About justice being a commodity I couldn't afford to buy. About waking up every day knowing I saved one person by surrendering to a system that destroys thousands. She picked up her bag. I can't do it anymore, Nathan. I can't win cases by losing myself. So I'm testifying, and whatever happens after that, at least I'll know I fought. You'll regret this. Maybe. But I'll regret not doing it more. She turned to leave. His voice stopped her. Emma. The first time I saw you in that courtroom, I thought you were naive, idealistic, too good for the world we actually live in. I was going to use that, manipulate it. But then you started talking about Rosa, about justice, about fighting, even when you can't win. And I realized you weren't naive. You were brave. Braver than anyone I'd ever met. Braver than I'd ever been. She looked back. Tears streamed down his face. Don't lose that. Whatever happens, whatever you decide, don't let this world make you cynical. Don't let people like me teach you that caring is weakness. It's not. It's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that ever did. Emma nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. I love you, he said. I know I don't have the right to say it, but I need you to know. What we had, that night in my chambers, those 12 hours you talked about, that was the most real thing in my life. The only choice I made that wasn't calculated, and I'd do it again. I'd lose everything again just for those few hours of feeling like myself. I love you too, Emma whispered, and I hate you for it. She left him there, pressed against the glass, and didn't look back. The trial took 6 weeks. Emma testified for 3 days. She told them everything. The manipulation, the deals, the meetings in chambers, the choice Richard had given her. The defense tore her apart. Called her a liar, a fame seeker, a lawyer who couldn't handle losing, so she fabricated a conspiracy. The media had a field day. Her face was on every news outlet. The Bar Association opened an investigation. Former clients called, angry and betrayed. Her apartment was vandalized. Her car was keyed. Strangers recognized her on the street and spit at her feet, but she kept showing up, kept testifying, kept telling the truth. And slowly, piece by piece, the jury started to believe. The verdict came on a Thursday morning. Guilty. On all counts, for all defendants. Richard Delgado, 25 years. Frank Delgado, 15 years. Amanda Price, 10 years. Marcus Webb, 8 years. 42 other arrests followed, and Nathan Cross, 12 years for conspiracy, racketeering, and corruption. The courtroom erupted. Emma sat in the back row, watching justice finally happen. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like exhaustion, like surviving something that had tried very hard to kill her. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Emma pushed through them without comment. She had nothing left to say. Her phone rang as she reached her car. Her lawyer, the Bar Association, made their decision. Emma closed her eyes. And disbarred. Effective immediately. I'm sorry, Emma. We knew it was coming, but I'd hoped. It's okay. Thank you for everything. She hung up, sat in her car, stared at her hands that would never hold a briefcase in court again. Never file motions, never cross-examine witnesses, never fight for someone who couldn't fight for themselves. She should feel destroyed, broken, lost. Instead, she felt free. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You did good, kid. Jennifer would be proud. Yes, she was real. And yes, Nathan loved her. But she wasn't his sister or his fiancée. She was his daughter. His teenage daughter from a relationship before he became a lawyer. She got caught up in the system. He tried to save her the right way and failed. She died in juvie, beaten by other inmates while guards looked away. He became a judge to make sure no other father watched his child destroyed by corruption. Along the way, he became part of the problem. But at the end, he became the solution. Because of you. Take care of yourself, Emma Sterling. The world needs people like you, even if it doesn't deserve them. The text disappeared as she read it. Some kind of self-destructing message. Emma sat in her car and finally let herself cry. For Nathan. For Jennifer. For Rosa. For every person destroyed by a system that valued power over people. And for herself. For the lawyer she'd been. For the ideals she'd fought for. For the 12 hours when love had seemed possible. When she finally stopped, the sun was setting. Emma wiped her face and started the car. She drove to a women's shelter on the south side. Knocked on the door, asked if they needed someone to help with legal paperwork for their clients. I'm not a lawyer anymore, she explained to the director. But I can help with forms, with documentation, with navigating the system. I can't represent anyone in court, but I can teach them how to represent themselves. The director looked at her, saw something in her face, smiled. When can you start? Right now. Emma spent the evening helping women fill out restraining orders, explaining their rights, giving them the tools to fight back against people who'd hurt them. It wasn't the same as practicing law. But it was something. It was helping. It was fighting. It was enough. 3 years later, Emma ran a nonprofit legal assistance center. She trained paralegals. She wrote guides. She taught people how to navigate a system designed to confuse them. She never set foot in a courtroom again. But the people she trained did. They won cases. They saved lives. They fought in her place. Nathan was released after serving 8 years with good behavior. He moved to a small town in Montana and became a carpenter. They exchanged letters occasionally. Careful, distant letters about weather and books and nothing important. But in every letter, he ended with the same line. Thank you for showing me what fighting means. And she always responded, thank you for finally doing it. On the 4th anniversary of her disbarment, Emma received a package. Inside was a wooden box, beautifully crafted with a card. For carrying the truth, even when it was heavy enough to break you. Emma opened the box. Inside were 12 perfect wooden roses, one for each hour they'd had together, one for each year of Nathan's sentence. Tears ran down her face as she touched them. Beautiful and fragile and utterly useless for anything except remembering. She put them on her desk, looked at them every day, remembered that once she'd been someone who loved a judge who broke every rule and broke her heart and saved her soul, and somehow, impossibly, it had all been worth it. Rosa sent Christmas cards every year. Her kids were growing up. She'd remarried, started her own small business, stayed clean and grateful. She never knew the full truth of what Emma had sacrificed for her. Emma never told her. Some weights were meant to be carried alone. Emma Sterling lived to be 87. She died quietly in her sleep, surrounded by the paralegals and lawyers she'd trained over the decades. Hundreds of them came to her funeral. They told stories about how she'd changed their lives, how she'd taught them to fight, how she'd shown them that justice wasn't about winning. It was about showing up, even knowing you might lose. In her will, she left everything to her nonprofit. But she left instructions for one thing to be delivered to a specific person. Nathan Cross was 91 when he received the package. Inside was a letter. Nathan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. I never wanted you to have to face me and try to find words for something that had no words. I forgave you. Not at the end. Not at the trial. Not even when you were released. But slowly, over years, I forgave you. Not because you deserved it, but because carrying anger was too heavy, and I was tired of carrying heavy things. Did we do the right thing? I don't know. I saved one woman and lost my career. You saved hundreds by burning down a corrupt system and lost your freedom. Maybe that's what justice actually costs. Maybe that's the price of refusing to compromise. Or maybe we were both fools who could have handled things better. I'll never know. What I do know is this. Those 12 hours were real. What we felt was real. And even though everything that came after hurt more than I can describe, I wouldn't trade those hours for anything. Not my career. Not my ideals. Not even the peace of mind that comes from never knowing what love feels like when it's true and terrifying and impossible. Thank you for being brave enough to fall. Thank you for being strong enough to sacrifice. Thank you for showing me that sometimes the most corrupt hearts are the ones trying hardest to find redemption. I loved you. I love you still. And I'll carry that love into whatever comes next, knowing it was the most real, the most painful, and the most honest thing I ever felt. Be well. Be kind to yourself. And know that somewhere, somehow, justice was served. Not in a courtroom. Not in a verdict. But in two broken people choosing, just once, to do the right thing, even when it destroyed them. Yours, always and impossibly, Emma. Nathan stood in his small Montana workshop, the letter trembling in his hands. He looked at the wooden roses he'd carved so many years ago, at the life he'd built from the ashes of who he'd been, and for the first time in decades, he smiled, not a bitter smile. Not a sad smile, but the smile of someone who'd paid a terrible price and found, at the end of everything, that it had been worth it. He hung Emma's letter on his wall, next to a photo he'd kept all these years. Emma in the courtroom, young, fierce, fighting, the way he'd always remember her, the way she'd taught him to be. Outside, snow began to fall, clean and white and covering all the scars the world had left behind. Nathan picked up his tools and began carving again. A woman made of wood, holding scales, fighting for something she'd never win. Justice, pure and impossible and beautiful, just like her. The end.